He's going to be day to day.
Robert, can you just walk us through that? What ultimately led to pulling the trigger on Dalvin?
Like I said, I think it was more, from their camp, just trying to cross their T's, dot their I's, and go through their process and making the best decision for their family as possible. Obviously, very excited to add a really, really good football player to this team, and he adds another dynamic to this group that I think anybody would be excited about.
Robert, he obviously has some off-the-field stuff that he's been dealing with. How much? Obviously you guys are betting that stuff. What made you comfortable with that?
For him, I'm not going to go into the detail. Obviously, the conversations we had and the depth at which we researched everything, I think we all came to agreement that we were very comfortable with the person and his situation.
Just real quick on AVT, when did he get hurt? Because I think he did WFAN this morning. So is this at practice?
Yeah, no, it was. He's been dealing with it for a while, and so it's just a matter of him. We're just trying to help him kind of just take a break to see if we can get his ailment under control.
With Dalvin, what's his timeline in terms of arrival and being able to practice, and what do you see his role as being?
I don't have that answer for you yet, Rich. I know it's going to be at least a week. So I know he's having the baby, which we're all excited for him on, but it's just a matter of getting on the phone with him today and getting him in here and just having those conversations to see where he's at.
We know he's a dynamic player. What's he going to do for this team?
There's a lot, man. When you kind of, as a coach, as a defensive coach, I'll just sit there and just say, God, you got Breece and Michael and him, and you got two of those guys in the backfield, and it's. You just got there's a lot of different things that you can do to create a bunch of headaches for defensive coaches, and then he's not a trick back either. You can turn around, hand him the ball, and he can run downhill, and he's done it for a long time, and so it's just I look at it like our D-line. Can never have enough, and just let them rotate and be fresh and get downhill and wear people out.
Robert, what did it mean to get Breece back out there, and what's like the ramp up going to look like for him?
So we're going to take our time with him, like I've said from the beginning. If you ask him, he's ready to go now, and he's chomping at the bit, wants to get in there with his teammates. But to have him back out there in pads, and man, he looks freaking good. Just his size, kind of like Jermaine Johnson, just the way they've kind of morphed their bodies, and he looks explosive, he looks powerful, and so we'll get him in, we'll ease him in, but right now it's just acclimation.
Robert, you guys all know obviously it's a business. Everybody here does, but when you bring a guy like Dalvin in, you got a pretty full running back room right now. Is that something you or the position coach discuss potential roles and whatnot when you bring a guy like that in with these guys?
Yes, nothing we've done isn't without a plan. Even when we talked to Dalvin when he was here, just mapping out our vision of how this running back room would look. Talking with Joe and his staff and what our vision would be for Dalvin and Breece and Michael and Bam and Izzy, and just how that thing maps out, Crockett and Dye, and just how that room's going to shake out. So we have a plan in place. I think expressing that plan to the players was very, very important to make sure that everybody was on board, and just always being transparent. So we'll always be transparent with the players, transparent with everybody, and I think everyone was pretty comfortable with it, and we're rolling. So.
Have you, Joe, after Cook signed or anything like that, just kind of thought back at all between the two of you of what this roster looked like before that 2020 off season when you first came here compared to now? You Cook, Rodgers.
Yeah, no, it's usually the case, right? And it's no one's fault. Sometimes things don't work. When we came in, there was we knew we had work to do, and just knock on wood, Joe is so great with being transparent and communicating and getting input from the coaches and the scouts, and just making sure that we're making the best decision for the organization with every decision we make. And knock on wood, we've been able to stack up some really, really good decisions over the last couple of years, and it's led to having a roster has a purpose. It's just not bringing in guys to bring in guys. There's a plan for all of them, and it's been awesome to see it kind of evolve.
I think the one concern probably still with this team though is the line. I mean, I know we talked to you a couple weeks ago. You had said after the Carolina game you wanted to have the 5 set, that you had your guys. You're not going to move forward with those 5. We're after that Carolina game, and unfortunately, there's
lot of
No,
rotations.
for sure. And there's still going to be. Ideally, like I've said it before, ideally would have wanted it done yesterday, but we're not quite there yet. And so we're still rotating guys, trying to find the best 5. And, Makai's starting to come along. Dwayne Brown's still got to get in the rotation and come back. So there's a lot of guys lobbying. And so we're going to continue to work to find our best 5. And, yeah, it would have been great to have it done by the end of last week, but it's not the case, and we're just going to keep working until we find the best 5.
What do you want to see from the joint practices tomorrow, and why was it just one joint practice as opposed to 2?
I like one from a safety measure standpoint. I never like 2 practices because the second practice is usually when the injuries happen, and then the second practice is when a team that knows they kind of got beat, they go into their meeting rooms and the coaches are yelling at them, and then they come out and they play with a little more edge, and it pisses each other off, and all the melees happen. And so I just think the second day is very unproductive, except for trying to be reactionary to getting your butt kicked the day before. So it's a lot more productive if you have one. It's a lot safer from a player safety standpoint, and you can get a lot more work done on your own. And you're only a couple days away from a game too, so you don't want that physical of a practice that close to a game. So there's a lot of reasons for it, mainly safety for the players, but and production of work, just avoiding all those useless melees.
How do you feel about his chances for being ready for week 1? And does Dalvin's presence now afford you the possibility of just sitting Breece until he's totally comfortable?
Yeah, Dalvin's presence doesn't change Breece's timeline. We're very comfortable with where Breece is at, very confident that he'll be ready for week 1. I've said it, he looks awesome. He really does. And our plan for him has been very deliberate in making sure that we're protecting him from him and making sure that he's 150% ready to roll. And but as far as Breece goes and his preparation from week 1, we're still anticipating that, and his timeline has not changed with the arrival of Dalvin.
Take a couple more. Joe Tippmann, we saw him getting some snaps with Rodgers for the first time today. How have you liked his progress, and what made you confident about that?
I'm excited to go see the tape on this one just to see how he did, because we wanted him to get some action with Aaron. Anyway, but I'm thinking about a couple of plays in practice. I got Aaron pissed off, but he's a beauty. But Tippmann's been doing a really nice job. He has elite strain, and he's been showing up really well in the games, and we just wanted to get him against better competition with our starting D-line, and just to see, because there's things he's got to work on. But the one thing that I can attest to is that he doesn't need any work on his strain and athleticism and all that stuff. It's just a matter of just learning the different techniques in football that we're trying to teach him, and how to do it versus bigger people and better people, and to do it with all the thought that you have to have when Aaron's under center, with cadence and changing plays and all that. So we just wanted to give him that look. Connor will slip back into with the ones tomorrow, and then we're just going to alternate, and just to give Tip some of those opportunities. But it was good to see him out there. I'm excited to see this tape.
Can we talk to you?
Robert, I think
Know your role.
Today's typically, I think, would have been the first cut down. As a coach, do you like the fact that there's one cut down where you can go through the rest of camp with this full roster, or how does that
No,
work?
I do, because there's so many guys who are making late surges where you're just not sure, and you're just, God, if I could just have one more week with this guy. And sometimes you have to let those guys go, and but at the same, and on the flip side, just having the bodies so you're not wearing down these last 2 weeks of camp, where you can hold practices. Like today, we had kind of an extended move the ball, and we can do that because we have all these bodies. So and there's still a lot of guys battling for those back end roster spots and special teams, and you just every year it feels like it's the same case where you're just begging to have a few more days with certain young men, and sometimes you can't.
Does it help that you can maybe hide some guys too? You can keep them a little longer?
I guess I think I'll speak for Joe and his staff, but all staffs and all scouting departments throughout the NFL, I think they do a good job scouting and looking ahead and seeing tape and having an idea and a radar of who's going to make it and who's not, and that's why they get paid the big bucks. And so it's good to try to hide some, but there's no. I feel like there's no hiding in this league anymore.
You when we talked to two-parter with just a quick follow with Joe, we when we talked to you about Tippmann before the Hall of Fame game, it seemed like he was behind the 8 ball quite a bit. Did something change that you saw in that Hall of Fame game where you were like, he might be a little further than we expect? Because suddenly since then it's been like 1-1-1, and then Zach had a good day.
Yeah, for sure. He a couple days leading into the Cleveland game, it was pretty good, and then that Cleveland game was really good, and then he had a really nice week in preparation for Carolina, and he had another really nice game against Carolina. And it's, he's coming along, and like all rookies do. If you just give him enough reps, they're going to figure it out, especially with his demeanor and the way he plays. And so he's improving, and he's making it interesting for sure. But so it's just for us when that starts to happen, all right, let's elevate the competition and let's see if you can continue that. And that's kind of the progression you take with these rookies. You just start it out easy and you take it up a notch and you see where they go. But yeah, he's moving in the right direction for sure. Long way to go, but he's still moving in the right direction. As for Zach, he's been stacking. I think he's been stacking up a lot of great days. Really pumped for him, and just I'm gonna keep knocking on wood for him. He's doing really, really nice.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys. Thank you.